There's a loneliness that eats away at your soul, even when you're surrounded by 1,000 people. A silent ache that accompanies you from the moment you wake up until your last thought before falling asleep. You've tried everything to fill it: social media, relationships, compulsive work, endless entertainment. But it always returns, like a shadow that never leaves. What if I told you that this loneliness isn't your enemy, but the most sacred portal to your liberation? Over 800 years ago, a Japanese monk named Dogen made a revolutionary discovery that would forever change our understanding of solitude. He realized that sitting is enlightenment, not a preparation for something greater, but the realization itself. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, Bodhidharma had spent 9 years meditating in front of a wall, discovering that forced isolation was not punishment, but the most direct path to rediscovering one's original nature. Today you'll discover the 4 ancient Zen foundations that transform toxic loneliness into sacred solitude. You'll understand why avoiding loneliness perpetuates the cycle of inner emptiness that torments you so much. And most importantly, you'll learn how your own company can become the most powerful source of peace, strength, and fulfillment you've ever experienced. Welcome to Axiom Sage, where ancient wisdom meets modern life. I am your guide on this journey of inner discovery, and this is the video that will teach you to never again fear being alone with yourself. If you're ready to transform your relationship with loneliness once and for all, then take a deep breath, because the next few minutes could change your life forever. Do you know that feeling of being lost in a crowd? When you're surrounded by people, but feel like there's an invisible glass separating you from everyone else. This is the hallmark of modern loneliness. It's not about being physically alone, but about a profound disconnection from your own authentic presence. And the cruelest thing is that our hyper-connected society has made this experience even more intense and confusing. Every day you wake up and immediately reach for your phone, as if fleeing from something terrible that lurks in the morning silence. You fill every free second with podcasts, music, notifications, anything to avoid having to face the company of yourself. And when the day finally ends and you lie down, that feeling returns. The emptiness, the restlessness, the certainty that something fundamental is missing from your life. But here's the shocking truth. This constant escape from your own company is exactly what's intensifying your loneliness. It's like trying to quench your thirst by drinking salt water. The more you consume external distractions, the thirstier you become for real connection. Zen masters knew this centuries ago, which is why Bodhidharma chose the most radical path possible. Now I'm going to tell you a story that will completely change your perspective on what it means to be alone. By the end of this video, you'll discover the secret behind Bodhidharma's 9 years of isolation, and how a specific insight of his can transform your solitude from a prison into a sanctuary. But before that, we need to understand why his mind developed such a horror of silence and his own company. The first thing you need to understand is that there's a huge difference between loneliness that kills and loneliness that awakens. And the problem is that our modern culture has taught us to treat every form of loneliness as if it were a disease that needs to be cured immediately. This has created what I call performative loneliness. That state where you feel more isolated when surrounded by people than when you're genuinely alone. Think about the last social event you attended. How many conversations truly touched your soul? How many times did you feel truly seen and understood? Most of our social interactions are superficial performances where we hide our true essence behind socially acceptable masks. You smile when you don't feel like it, agree when you disagree, and feign interest in things that leave you empty inside. This is the cruelest loneliness of all, being disconnected from yourself while connected to everyone else. The neurological error no one explained to you is this. Your primitive brain interprets silence as a survival threat. Thousands of years ago, being alone meant vulnerability to predators. So when you sit in silence, your nervous system triggers anxiety alarms as if you were in real danger. That's why you feel that physical restlessness when you try to meditate or simply do nothing. But Bodhidharma discovered something revolutionary during his 9 years meditating in front of that wall in the Shaolin cave. He realized that when you stop running from solitude and start consciously inhabiting it, something magical happens. You find an inner companionship richer and more satisfying than any external relationship could offer. I'm not talking about unhealthy isolation or escaping reality. I'm talking about developing real intimacy with your own presence. The difference is subtle but transformative. Reactive solitude is when you're alone because you're running away from the world, or the world is running away from you. Creative solitude is when you consciously choose to be with yourself to cultivate your own essence. One leaves you empty and desperate. The other leaves you whole and centered. Now answer me honestly. How many times a day do you check your phone without any real need? How many times do you turn on the TV or play music just to fill the silence? These are subtle signs that you're addicted to distraction to avoid your own company. And the irony is that this constant escape is exactly what's perpetuating your inner emptiness. This is where the real transformation begins. The first of the 4 Zen foundations that will revolutionize your relationship with solitude is called shikantaza, a Japanese word that Dogen translated as just sitting. But don't be fooled by its simplicity. This is one of the most powerful and misunderstood teachings in the entire Zen tradition. Shikantaza isn't about trying to achieve some special state of consciousness or solve your mental problems. It's about developing the radical courage to be fully present with what is, without trying to escape or improve the moment. Most people, when they try to meditate or be silent, are secretly trying to get rid of something. Anxiety, sadness, restlessness, disturbing thoughts. They use meditation as a tool to get somewhere better. But Dogen discovered that this very attempt to escape is what keeps you trapped in the cycle of suffering. It's like trying to escape your shadow by running faster. The faster you run, the faster it follows you. Shikantaza is different. It's the practice of sitting with complete acceptance of what's happening now, whether pleasant or unpleasant. If you're feeling lonely, you sit with loneliness. If you're feeling anxious, you sit with anxiety. If your mind is agitated, you sit with the agitation. Not to get rid of these states, but to develop real intimacy with them. Here's a practical application you can try right now. Choose a moment today when you would normally reach for your phone to distract yourself. Instead, sit in a comfortable chair, close your eyes, and simply observe what's happening in your body and mind. Don't try to change anything. Don't judge what appears. Just be a witness to your inner experience. Do this for just 5 minutes on the first day. What you'll discover is surprising. When you stop fighting your loneliness and begin to consciously inhabit it, it begins to reveal itself as something completely different from what you imagined. Beneath performative solitude lies a sacred solitude, a space of inner silence where you can find a form of companionship that depends on no one but yourself. The second foundation is Zazen, sitting in meditation as medicine for the fragmented soul. But Zazen isn't about emptying the mind or reaching altered states of consciousness. It's about healing the internal division that makes you feel like an outsider in your own life. When you practice Zazen regularly, something profound begins to happen. You stop being an external observer of your own experience and begin to become intimate with it. The practical difference is this. Instead of constantly narrating your life in your head as if it were a movie you're watching, you begin to inhabit it directly. Instead of constantly judging whether your feelings are right or wrong, you develop the ability to be present with them without drama. And most importantly, you stop needing constant approval from others to feel valid and complete. If you feel that any of these practices already resonate with you, this is the perfect time to subscribe to the channel, because now we're going to dive into the deepest and most transformative aspects of this Zen wisdom. There's a Zen story that will forever change how you view your inner darkness. A young monk approached a master and asked, How can I rid myself of all these dark thoughts and disturbing feelings? The master replied, the same way you rid yourself of winter, by patiently waiting for it to complete its natural cycle and transform into spring on its own. This story encapsulates something our culture of toxic positivity has completely forgotten. Inner darkness is not a glitch in your operating system that needs to be fixed immediately. It is a natural station of the soul that has its own wisdom and regenerative function. When you try to suppress or solve your loneliness as if it were a technical problem, you are interrupting a sacred process of inner renewal that Eastern masters called the womb of transformation. Dogen taught something revolutionary in the 13th century that modern neuroscience is only now beginning to understand. When you stop constantly stimulating your brain with external distractions and allow it to enter states of conscious non-doing, a profound neural reorganization occurs automatically. It's as if your mind has a self-cleaning mechanism that only works when you're not constantly interfering with it. The problem is that our society has conditioned us to interpret any moment of emptiness or silence as a sign that something is wrong. You wake up and immediately reach for your phone because the morning silence feels threatening. You turn on the radio in the car because a few minutes of stillness make you feel uncomfortable. You sleep with the TV on because the nighttime silence awakens anxieties you didn't even know you had. But here lies the hidden teaching that Dogen called Genja Koan, present reality as it is, without embellishment or fantasy. Your emotional darkness, your loneliness, your fears are not obstacles on the spiritual path. They are the path itself. When you learn to inhabit them consciously, without dramatizing or suppressing them, they reveal themselves as portals to levels of presence and wholeness you've never experienced. Think about nature. A seed needs the darkness beneath to germinate. A caterpillar needs the darkness of its cocoon to transform into a butterfly. Winter is not the opposite of life. It is an essential phase of the life cycle. Likewise, your periods of introversion, melancholy, and solitude are not signs of depression or social inadequacy. They are invitations to delve deeper into your own essence and discover inner treasures that can only be found in silence. The fatal mistake most people make is trying to solve loneliness as if it were a mathematical equation. More friends, more activities, more external stimuli equals less loneliness. But this approach is like trying to cure thirst by drinking seawater. The more you consume superficial connections, the thirstier you become for real intimacy. True healing comes not from adding more things to your life, but from developing an intimate and peaceful relationship with what is already present. Bodhidharma discovered this radically during his 9 years of seclusion. He wasn't escaping the world or trying to become a hermit forever. He was conducting a scientific investigation of consciousness. What happens when you completely stop seeking satisfaction, validation, and entertainment in the outside world and turn fully inward? What he found was surprising. Beneath all the layers of social conditioning, fear, and compulsive need for approval, there is a core of presence that is naturally whole, peaceful, and complete. It doesn't need to be improved. It doesn't need external company. It doesn't need constant entertainment. It's like discovering that you've always carried within you a spring of pure water, but you've spent your entire life thirsty, searching for water in muddy puddles. Now let's move on to the third Zen foundation that will completely transform your relationship with solitude. Samu, conscious work as a practice of solitary presence. Samu is the Zen art of transforming any everyday activity into active meditation, developing deep intimacy with the present moment through simple tasks performed with full attention. Imagine washing the dishes not as a boring task you want to finish quickly, but as a sacred opportunity to be fully present with the temperature of the water, the texture of the foam, the movement of your hands. Imagine sweeping the floor not as housework, but as a meditative dance where each movement connects you more deeply with the here and now. This is Samu, finding the extraordinary in the ordinary through skilled presence. What makes this practice revolutionary is that it destroys the illusion that you need special conditions, sacred places, or free moments to cultivate your inner life. You can practice Samu while making breakfast, walking to work, organizing your room, or doing any activity you would normally do on autopilot. The only difference is the quality of your attention. Here's a specific practical application. Choose a task you do every day. It could be brushing your teeth, taking a shower, or preparing a simple meal. For the next 7 days, transform that task into a SAMU practice. Do it more slowly than usual, paying attention to every sensation, every movement, every aspect of the experience without rushing to finish. Notice how this simple shift in the quality of presence transforms not only the task, but also your inner state. What you'll discover is that solitude ceases to be a frightening void and becomes a sacred space of communion with yourself. When you are fully present with a simple activity, there's no mental space for dramatic narratives about loneliness, rejection, or inadequacy. There's just you, the activity, and a natural sense of completeness that doesn't depend on any external factors. The fourth and final foundation is Kinhin, slow walking as a bridge between solitude and the world. Kinhin is traditionally practiced between zazen sessions in Zen monasteries, but you can adapt it to your daily life as a powerful way to integrate the inner peace you cultivate in solitude with your active participation in the external world. The practice is simple yet profound. Walk mindfully at a much slower pace than usual, paying full attention to the sensation of your feet touching the ground, the movement of the air against your skin, the sounds around you. Each step becomes a meditation. Each breath becomes a moment of renewed presence. It's not about getting anywhere, it's about being fully where you are in each moment. Kinhin's transformative power lies in the fact that it trains you to bring the quality of presence you develop in solitude to your interactions with others and the world. You learn that you don't have to choose between being a solitary and contemplative person or a social and active person. You can be both, integrating both dimensions through conscious presence. Now I want you to pause for a moment and reflect. Which of these 4 practices, Shikantaza, Zazen, Samu, or Kinhin, resonates most deeply with you at this point in your life? Write in the comments which one you'll try first, because this interaction will help other viewers choose their own starting point on this journey of transformation. Now we're ready to reveal the secret I promised at the beginning of this video. The life-changing discovery Bodhidharma made during his 9 years of seclusion in the Shaolin Cave. During this entire time, he wasn't trying to escape the world or become a saint detached from reality. He was exploring a fundamental question. What happens when you completely stop seeking validation, entertainment, and fulfillment in the outside world? What he discovered will revolutionize his understanding of loneliness forever. Bodhidharma realized that the feeling of being alone that so terrifies us is actually an illusion created by our compulsive identification with thoughts, emotions, and mental narratives. When you are constantly narrating your experience in your head, "I'm alone, no one understands me, something is missing," you become an outside observer of your own life, always feeling separate and incomplete. But when you practice the 4 Zen foundations we've just explored, something magical happens. You stop being an anxious observer of your experience and become the experience itself. There is no longer a you separate from loneliness, sadness, or joy. There is only life happening through you, and in this unification, the sense of existential isolation simply dissolves. The practical summary of this transformation can be summarized in 3 simple steps that you can implement immediately. First, recognize that your aversion to solitude isn't about being physically alone, but about avoiding real intimacy with yourself. Second, choose one of the 4 Zen practices, Shikantaza, Zazen, Samu, or Kinhin, and commit to practicing it consistently for at least 2 weeks. Third, observe how your relationship with silence, emptiness, and your own company gradually transforms without trying to force any specific change. What you'll discover is that loneliness wasn't your enemy, but your wisest teacher. It was trying to teach you that the source of completeness you desperately sought in relationships, achievements, and external approval was always available within you, not as a pretty philosophical concept, but as a lived reality you can access at any time through conscious presence. This is the alchemy of Zen transformation. When you stop fighting your loneliness and begin to consciously inhabit it, it reveals itself not as an absence of love, but as the pure presence of yourself. And in this presence, you discover that you were never truly alone. You were simply disconnected from the inexhaustible source of life that flows through you in every moment. Here's a truth that will bother many people. Most will never apply these teachings. They'll watch this video, feel inspired for a few minutes, maybe even save it to a special playlist, but they'll continue to escape their own company through the same old distractions. They'll continue to treat their loneliness like a disease that needs to be cured with more superficial connections, more entertainment, more anything that prevents them from finding the peace that only exists in inner silence. But you can choose to be different. You can choose to be one of the few people brave enough to transform your relationship with loneliness once and for all. As Dogen said, to study Zen is to study oneself. To study oneself is to forget oneself, and to forget oneself is to awaken with all things. This is the journey that awaits you, from fragmentation to unity, from the fear of loneliness to the love of your own presence. Remember Bodhidharma's words when he finally emerged from the cave after 9 years. I have found the infinite treasure in the cave of my own heart, and now I know that I have never been alone. That same treasure exists within you, patiently waiting to be discovered not through more relationships or external achievements, but through the simple, radical courage of being fully present with yourself. Your journey of transformation begins today, not tomorrow, when you have more time, not next week, when things are calmer. Right now, in this moment, you can choose one of the 4 Zen practices I've shared and take the first step toward a life where solitude becomes your source of strength, not weakness. If this video touched you deeply, subscribe to the Axiom Sage channel, because our community is a safe haven for people like you, sincere seekers who want to go beyond superficial spirituality and find real transformation through ancient wisdom. And share this video with someone you know who is also struggling with loneliness, because sometimes the greatest generosity is helping someone discover they were never truly alone. Be your own best company, and you will never be alone again.